Hello, glad to have you on the Maze this week. I am Rosemary Kokotega. Top on today's menu. House of Representatives leadership meets striking academic staff union of universities as National Assembly resumes.
We're here with an array of chairmen of relevant committees and very strong and senior members of the House to see how we can close this very horrible chapter in our history, in our nation's history.
And Senate confirms Justice Olukayode Ariwola as Chief Justice of Nigeria.
The Senate confirmed the nomination of Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwola for appointment as the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Stay with us for details of this and more on the Maze today.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite. This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASUU Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASUU Television Star Times Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, and UHF Channel 38.
You're watching The Maze on ASUU Television. Watch us live on www.asuradioandtv.com/live, on DSTV channel 392, Star Times channel 127, Free TV channel 507, on the UHF band we are channel 38. You can as well download our app for Android at the Google Play Store. For iOS devices, download the app at the App Store. The strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU is today 7 months, 6 days, as all attempts to get the lecturers back to schools had proven abortive. The resistance on the part of ASUU has not, however, deterred different arms of government from trying to get all the contending issues resolved. Upon resumption Tuesday this week, leadership of the House of Representatives convened an intervention meeting with ASUU and the Ministry of Education. Speaker of the House, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, addressed the meeting, urging both federal government and ASUU to reach a common ground and end the strike.
We're here with an array of chairmen of relevant committees and very strong and senior members of the House to see how we can close this very horrible chapter in our history, in our nation's history. We're not here to rehash the issues. I'm not going to yield to that temptation where we're going to be talking about what happened, how we got here, what government has done, what government. No. I believe everybody in Nigeria, we all know the issues. If by now we don't know the issues, then we haven't been existing in Nigeria. So the issues are known to all of us. What we're here for is a solution and a way forward. We're at crisis stage. We're going to do all we can constitutionally and that is in our powers to try and resolve this issue once and for all, because I believe we are all on the same page on one thing, and that is that our students have to go back to class. I believe we're all agreed on that. The question is how? The question is shifting of grounds and moving closer to the center by all parties. And I believe that's why we call it negotiation. Negotiation is about not my way, not only, it's not about my way or the highway. It's about give and take. And I believe as an institution, the House of Representatives, hopefully, is in a position to kickstart. I mean, the government has been doing a lot, and you guys have been talking, we're aware of it, but this is an independent arm of government, and what we seek to do is to come to some kind of resolution by the end of today, and act more or less as yet another interface between the two contending parties, between government and ASUU. And I hope that by the end of the day, by the time we're done, we would have made a significant step, taken a significant step towards achieving that. I'm sorry. There are short-term, this thing is two-pronged. There's a short-term solution and there's the long-term solution. The short-term solution is what we're talking about now. How to get you back to class, how to get our students back to class. Long-term will be long-term. How to address the issue permanently. Because this is not an issue that is peculiar or started with this government. This is an issue that is recurrent with successive governments. And if we just use a band-aid approach and just address the short term without addressing the long term, it's going to rear its ugly head again. And we're just going to be kicking the can further down the road. So, what I'm here to seek, what is the barest minimum that ASUU is ready to accept, knowing that you must shift ground, knowing that government must shift ground. It's not just ASUU. Both sides must shift ground if we're all interested in our education system and our children. Now, my worry is this, and I've said this over and over again. Most people are with you. Most people are with ASUU, no matter who the player is. But there's a tendency, there's a possibility, and I don't want that to happen, where something is so protracted, you now begin to lose the argument or lose the plot, like they say. It happens, it's a fact of life. You start off, you have very noble intentions, and there's nobody that can fault that. Your intentions are so noble, it's not for you. It's not for you, it's for our children. But whereas you can start off, I mean, they say the road to heaven is paved with good intentions. One can start off with that. But at the end of the day, as you go along and you remain intransigent or inflexible, there's a tendency that people get tired and they begin to be like, hey, listen, guys. I mean, enough is enough. We've heard you, but let's shift ground. Let's accommodate one another. That's why it's called negotiation. And that's what we're here to do today. Not to rehash the problem. We all know what the issues are. Government knows the issues. You know the issue. The world knows the issue. How do we now deal with that moving forward?
The Minister of State for Education, Mr. Goodluck Opia, then spoke on some interventions by the ministry.
Excellency, we want to thank you for inviting us to this meeting. We're happy to be here. Indeed, the strike has been of concern to all stakeholders in the education sector, especially the Ministry of Education. We appreciate the intervention of the leadership of the House under Mr. Speaker. But by way of information, I have to let Mr. Speaker and the House know that just about a week ago, Mr. President granted audience to a committee of pro-chancellors of Nigerian universities who also took similar steps. And Mr. President listened to both sides and has resolved to make further consultations, after which he will also come up with the final government stand on the issue. So, Mr. Speaker, this step is not out of place at all. I think it will rather add to the steps already being taken by the executive with the intention of finding quicker solution to this problem.
The minister's comment, however, did not sit well with the ASUU president, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke.
What we'll be doing in this country, we look at strike as a problem. But when you check, strike is just a symptom of the problem in the system. Nobody will go around our university today and will say our universities are good. Nobody. Whether it is federal, it is state, nobody. But we still to look at strike as a problem. And that's why in the past, it's 2009, we have so many of them. When we are on strike, we have the urge to stop the strike. And when the strike is over, we go back to the old way. Nothing happened to the issue for which there were strikes. And that is the problem. To also, I also want to state that this is 7th month this strike is on. We have never, and you can check, and we have never been called to a formal meeting by the Ministry of Education. Formal meeting where ministers are taking and decision taking. You can check, not one. We have only called to a meeting twice by the Ministry of Labor. 27th of February and 1st of March. Between there and now, we have never called for any formal meeting. I'm using the word formal. If me and you talk on phone, we sit down and just chill and talk. It's not a formal meeting. And for issues that involve collective bargaining, it's not just issue you talk on this. So there will never be any, and we challenge the Ministry of Education to produce one document, 1 minute, to show that the Ministry of Education has called off for any formal meeting in 7 weeks. It can never happen anywhere in the world. When we started strike, university in UK, by city, we're on strike. It didn't take 2 days. Because they don't look strike as a problem, they look at the real issues. But we look at strike as a problem. So that is why we're on strike. That's why we're being punished. In Nigeria, in other universities, it's clear, other climb. When you people go on strike, you handle the strike. You don't look how to punish the people. You are aware. The first thing the Minister of Labor did was to go and say, stop their salaries. Instead of solving the problem, the Minister of Education said, we want to use it to teach them a lesson. Teach your academic a lesson. So what am I saying? That please, let's look at the issues and resolve the issues and not look at the symptom.
The meeting later reverted to a closed-door session with the newsmen excused, of course. However, Speaker of the House addressed newsmen after the around 4 hours of discussing exclusively, stating decision of the House to meet President Muhammadu Buhari with all agreed resolutions. Well, in a turn of event, a ruling of an industrial court on Wednesday ordered the striking union to return to classrooms, with the federal government saying it would continue to negotiate notwithstanding the court's ruling. ASUU, on the other hand, is opting for an appeal. From the floor of the Red Chamber, senators confirmed Justice Olukayode Ariwoola as Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN. Senate President Ahmed Lawan presided over the session.
Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola for appointment as the Chief Justice of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. The nomination of Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola is hereby confirmed as the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Because the nominee is in acting capacity at the moment, and he has only, I think, 3 or 4 days left in the 3 months of his acting, I would suggest that we pass the divorce and proceedings before we leave today, so that we're able to communicate to avoid any crisis. Thank you very much.
Prior to his confirmation at the screening stage, Some senators, including Deputy President of the Senate, Ovie Omoagege, and Chairman Senate Committee on Judiciary, Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, in separate remarks, expressed worry over the embarrassing alleged petitions written to Justice Mohammed Tanko by 15 other justices of the Supreme Court in June this year.
And now, the questions and the comments, and we'll start. And let me remind us, it's 3 minutes, maximum 2 questions per person. DSP.
My Lord, not too long ago, those of us who belong to a legal profession, we felt, I would say, a little embarrassed, but very, very embarrassed by certain events that occurred in the Senate. I'd like for you to speak on your vision and your plan for repositioning of the Nigerian judiciary. Thank you, my Lord.
My Lord, I have 2 questions. 1, there is a growing public concern over the seeming lack of transparency in the appointment of judicial officers at both the state and federal levels. What will you do to ensure transparency and compliance with laid down procedures and global best practice standards? Question number 2. My Lord, the judiciary is pivotal to the strengthening of democracy and good governance. If confirmed as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, my Lord, how will you ensure that the judiciary under your leadership is better equipped to perform this role? And what would be your strategy to ensure that the judiciary is better funded to enhance the capacity of our judicial officers and staff? Mr. President, thank you.
I'm happy that you have identified as your core vision issues of reform in our administration of justice, particularly the issues of our rules and procedure of practice. Can your Lordship explain in brief how you hope to achieve this, given the fact that a number of your predecessors had also attempted to deal with these issues? Thank you, my Lord.
And my Lord, under your leadership, if confirmed today, how will you address the issue of this delay in the administration of justice in our country?
The newly confirmed CJN was able to clear the air. Let's have him speak.
The Deputy Senate President, Senator Moagege, started from what he decided not to call petitions, even though many papers and the press that accosted me on the day I was sworn in as acting said justices of the Supreme Court wrote petition. We did not write petition. It was an internal memo of, not of the court, even, but of justices. There were 15 justices of the Supreme Court then, with the Chief Justice. And we had either individually, as friends, as colleagues, or in group at meetings, raised certain issues that were touching on persons' working conditions of justices, such as some of us not having accommodation at all, particularly amongst my brothers who were appointed in 2020. Some have still not gotten accommodation. Now ask me, where do they live? Some live very far away, and that was why on Monday when we were to sit, we had to wait for a colleague who stayed quite far to the court. Then some vehicles have not been provided. Our entitlement as justices of Supreme Court to attend workshops were claimed not to be provided for, whereas in the budget there were these provisions. When we realized that each time we had a meeting and we took this up, our brother, the Honorable the Chief Justice, then probably forgot or didn't remember to take care of it. Sometimes the management of the court will still tell the Chief Justice there was no money. So we sat together and put something in paper. No secretary typed this. One of us who was secretary to a committee, which was then the welfare committee of the court, typed it, and we all sat and signed, the 14 of us, and after signing this memo, we took it up to deliver it personally to our brother, the Chief Justice. We didn't allow anybody to see this memo. How it came on pages of newspaper is still a miracle to us. We wouldn't know, because we never made it available. In fact, no justice had copy of this memo. We just read it to ourselves and we agreed and we signed and took it to our brother. So I got on the newspapers, if you like, got leaked to the press. We were embarrassed ourselves, and we all met with the Chief Justice again to say what happened. We wanted His Lordship to get the management of the court to meet with us so that we could let them know we had no problem with our number one. We agreed. The Chief Justice gave us a time, and we all gathered again in the chambers of the Chief Justice conference room, only to realize that there was no plan to bring any member of the management. The Chief Justice himself was surprised that we were around again. His Lordship probably forgot. In fact, he said so. He apologized that he forgot to invite them, and we left. So there was no petition either to or against the Chief Justice. We remained brothers, and we were acting as one, even though we had our complaints, like the distinguished senator said, you know, when there was a circular that moved around that, you know, the generator will be switched off at 4 o'clock, when sometimes we may be sitting in court till 6. And I had to climb up the staircase when I arrived the court before 8 a.m. because the circular said generator won't be switched on until 8 a.m. So any justice that came before 8 must either have to stay there if he cannot climb, or climb the stairs to the second to the third floors. We felt that was embarrassing enough. We told our brother, the Chief Justice, and nothing was done to it. I mean, he said he didn't know, you know, what was happening. That was exactly what happened. It was not a petition. The justices were not protesting. You know, no, it was not a protest. We couldn't have carried placards. You know, we just thought to put our complaint on paper for our brother, the Chief Justice. That was all. As to Ariwola's fission, I haven't gone through all the courts, all the hierarchy of courts, and I haven't stayed this far. This is my 11th year in the Supreme Court. I know that judiciary, even though said to be the third arm of government, cannot work alone as an independent arm of government. The Supreme Court, or the judiciary, if you like, needs the other two arms of government, mostly. Particularly, this Honorable Senate, in that the judiciary of Nigeria is suffering of lack of funds. We're trying to introduce technology. This has gone far in other climes. Technology is so germane, it's so important that it is my desire to introduce like e-filing and electronic service of processes. By October, when we are doing our legal year, work has gone very far. The Supreme Court will start off in the way we have computerized and introduced in one of the three courts in the court great technology that lawyers may soon address the court from the comfort of their chambers once they are properly briefed. Like many of us will have had Zoom meetings, Zoom consultation with our friends, our doctors, and so on, from far away in foreign lands. We are starting that soon. What has been our problem is fund. And I believe and happy that if this Honorable Senate is aware that we need to move forward, we need to advance, we need fund so to do. So by the time our budget is presented, we believe it will pass through. There's need to improve on the way we file processes, the way we still do a lot of writing, despite the brief writing of counsel in respect of matters. Justices still record in longhand. But this will change this time around because we are engaging stenographers that will have knowledge, great knowledge of technical terms, legal terms, because I've discovered that some of those engaged will misunderstand what counsel say in their address or in their brief. So we're engaging stenographers and we're going to do transcriptions of, submissions, addresses. We've been doing front loading of pleadings. We shall soon go on front loading evidence, front loading exhibits, so that counsel may not need to come to court. We've always said it, people come from far away, Maiduguri, from far down Port Harcourt, and they get to court only to discover that the court is not sitting. That is not too good. So, it is my desire to plead with this Honorable Senate to approve our budget to do this, because it will affect every one of us. We shall make progress, once we have enough fund so to do. And it is my desire to meet with the President, who has presented my name, that I'm his choice, to to say the only way we can move is for us to have fund. The judiciary of Nigeria must be properly funded. We shall make progress at the next stage of the judiciary of this country. Like Senator Bamidele Opeyemi said, on the appointment of judicial officers, appointment of judicial officers is provided for in the Constitution. To be appointed to the High Court judge, the Constitution says you must be 10 years in practice. To go to Court of Appeal, 12 years. And to be a Justice of Supreme Court, 15 years. That is what most people think is all about. And, you know, so they aspire. But I'm happy that the National Judicial Council plays a great role in appointment of judicial officers in this country. The state will sit, propose, recommend. These ones will be subjected to interview. You must be in active practice. And I've always told some of our people, you must search yourself, know your worth. To be a judicial officer, you know, it's not a, I beg your pardon, palongo. It's not a dance that you can learn on the way. You've got to know yourself, know your worth. That's why we should play to ourselves, to ask whoever is our nominee, can you do this job? We are supposed to be constitutionally 21 justices. But we are 13 now. We need to appoint more justices. But as we said, the rules will have to be amended. There are many cases that should not be allowed to come up. Many cases should be allowed to stop at the Court of Appeal. It's only by the constitutional amendment that that can happen. And the Constitution can only be amended not by the courts, but by this distinguished House, Senate. The National Assembly should please help us, the country, help the nation. Amending this one must end here. And once you say so, that is the law. I believe with the Senate President and the distinguished senators, we shall make progress on that. If justice is delayed, it will end up denying justice. But as the saying goes, if you rush justice, you end up denying justice. How? If a suspect gets into the dock to be tried, and he says, please, my Lord, my key witness is not available. Give me an adjournment. And you said, no. You have to close your case. That is rushing justice. And you have denied him justice. But with the administration of criminal justice reformed that is now in practice, there are a number of adjournments that the court must take. There are a number of days a matter must be dealt with. Just like in some political cases, there is provision that a matter must be heard and concluded within a certain time. And if you are aggrieved, you want to appeal, your appeal once filed must be disposed of within a certain time. If you have complaint you want to file, you must file within 14 days. The filing, as I've always said, when laws are made, it is what the court says the law is, that is the law. Otherwise, it remains lifeless in the law books. So, that 14 days, people miscount it. 14 days starts not like you count money. It starts from the date, that's what the law says, from the date of the occurrence of that event you are complaining about. So many people have filed processes on the 15th day, when the law talks about 14 days. You start counting from the following day, which is the practice. But that law says from the day of the occurrence of that event. If you are challenging the presentation or the declaration of a different person from you who won the primary, the day is the day of the announcement. 14 days begins to run from that day. And then to 14 days. If you file within 14 days, the court must dispose of the matter within 180 days. Not 1 day after 180 days. People had challenged filing or tendering of documents up to Supreme Court, and by the time they had gone back, because 180 days continued to run after them, to Court of Appeal, to Supreme Court. By the time they go back to the trial court, the trial judge says, sorry, I can no longer entertain your matter. What do you mean? It is 180 days. Statutory limitation. Then the Court of Appeal within 60 days. The Supreme Court within 60 days. Particularly the Supreme Court, which is the final court, which is the apex court, cannot go beyond that date also. So, yes, justice delayed is justice denied. But you can be sure that even though the wheel of justice may be sluggish, may move sluggishly, but it's only slow, not sluggish. But you can be sure that it is steady. Because if you rush it, you will end up denying justice. So we are familiar with that, and we're going to, a meeting is being proposed with heads of various courts so that they will be taken along. You know, we won't run the Supreme Court alone. All my brother justices here, they know we are running the system together. It is not a court of Chief Justice. It is a Supreme Court that we are all serving. And we must not fail. Thank you very much.
Is it the opinion of this Senate that my Lord the nominee takes a bow and go, having responded very well to all the questions raised so far? Is it the view of this Senate that he takes a bow? Distinguished colleagues, please. Oh dear.
Well, all these are top part of many legislative proceedings at both chambers of the National Assembly as they resumed new legislative year. We look forward to more events the coming week with the Mace bringing you up to speed. Thanks for your time today. See you next week. I am Rosemary Ukokotega.